Welcome to the Spread Zone, presented to you by FanDuel. Tim McKernan and Anthony Stalter. Anthony, Rizz decided to bail because he went 2-5, and he said, "I've had enough."
Oh, no.
No, he's on vacation, but I just want to go after him a little bit. Last week, he went 2-5 and dropped to 37-53 for a 41% against the spread mark on the year. Tough spot.
Do you remember, Tim, at one point when we were feeling good?
I do remember. I still have the spreadsheet from week 3.
Things were looking good for the spread zone. We were piling wins. At the very least, Rizz was hitting his lock of the week.
I thought we were going to move this podcast to the south of France.
Well, it was at one point we were looking at real estate.
We were. And
Not anymore.
And now we've fallen on hard times. Now, you are still above 500. I'm still above 500, but we're on the brink. 3-4 mark for you last week. 4-3 mark for me last week. Rizz 2-5. So Anthony, now as we are in week 14 of the college season, we are at 49-47 for you, 51% against the spread, 47-45 for me, 51% against the spread, and Rizz is at 37-53, 41% against the spread. If there is something that we can hang our hats on, I'm 8-4 in my locks of the week for 67%.
Excellent.
I take pride in that, but I'm a college guy, and the college football season's coming to an end. You're 6-7. Rizz is 6-7 for 46% against the spread so far on the locks.
We got to turn this around.
I love the card this week. How do you feel? Honestly, how do you feel?
So last week when I shared the college football slate, I didn't like it all. That's why I kind of
went totals.
I went totals and with overs.
We shipped the Oregon USC.
That was an easy one.
I think they were off on the number. I think that should have been around 70. We got it at 59.5, and it easily
Was that
covered.
your lock?
That was my lock, yeah. You played it.
I wish I went with the lock on that game as well. I just went with bitter Falcon fan.
I noticed that.
And
you picked the Saints money line.
And of course, Kirky Chain showed up that day.
Kirky.
I wonder, Tim, if we have underestimated the not just the market, but the way that the college game is more resembled now to the NFL in terms of
I think that is astute.
How even teams are.
I think that is astute.
Parity has been rampant in the NFL for years. Just in hindsight now, of course, looking back, I think I have shorted the market from the standpoint of these teams are a lot closer than I thought.
That's exactly right. In particular, one of the great data points this year is the margin of victory in the SEC is its most narrow, I think, in its history, because you used to have blowouts left and right. One of our favorite teams that both of us have been picking, Mississippi State, they would lose games, but they were losing in overtime. And certainly they are part of what might be the epicenter of college football this week with Lane Kiffin and the Egg Bowl and all of the comings and goings there at 11 o'clock Central Time on Friday. What a weekend of football with Thanksgiving and then the Friday slate, the Saturday slate, Sunday and Monday. You can't ask for any more. So how do you feel about the college slate? How do you feel about the NFL slate?
So you did ask me that. So last week I didn't feel good. This week I feel very good.
I like to hear that.
There's something about this weekend is my favorite. As you just mentioned, you got Thursday NFL, you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, full cards in college and pro respectively. Now that the NFL has sprinkled in the Friday game too, Black Friday game, it's my favorite week. And I think at this point, if you don't have a handle on the teams, you haven't been paying attention. So I'm hoping, Tim, collectively the spread zone rolls this weekend.
I would like to see it happen. I feel good about the card as well, in particular in college. And 4 of my 7 picks, as always, are in college. Rizz has sent his picks in as well. So when we return, we will go through the college slate and our college football picks for this long weekend. Coming up next on the Spread Zone, presented to you by FanDuel. Welcome back to the Spread Zone, presented to you by FanDuel. Tim McKernan and Anthony Stalter with you. Rizz on vacation, but he did send his picks in. Anthony, we both like the college slate this weekend. Now, as always, we don't talk about it before the show, so I learn what you're picking right here on the Spread Zone, and you learn what Rizz and I are picking as well live on the podcast. I'm going to yield the floor to you for your first pick in college for the long Thanksgiving weekend.
Let's go to the Big Ten on Saturday afternoon. I think this line is short. Give me Oregon minus 6.5 at Washington. I think the number is short because of two factors. One, Washington being at home, and two, Oregon dealing with the injuries. This Washington team is also banged up, though. But with the way that Oregon dismantled, and it was closer, I shouldn't say dismantled, but Oregon wound up covering last week against USC. They had lost multiple offensive linemen either before the game or during the game, and they kept rolling. I love Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end. He's a stud.
What a player.
If they can get at least one of their wide receivers back, I think that'll help. But regardless, I think Oregon knows what's in front of them. They got past that hurdle in USC, and this Washington team can be hit and miss, and dealing with some of their injuries and them just wrapping up the season. I'm gonna lay the 6.5 with the Oregon Ducks, who are 4-0 on the road.
Tell you what, Oregon could be in the same spot that Ohio State was last year, reversing roles, as a matter of fact. Everybody was talking about Oregon undefeated throughout the regular season, and then they had that long wait until they played, and then they got worked over by Ohio State.
Right.
Everybody was down on Ohio State after losing to Michigan, and then they rolled through Tennessee and made their way to the national championship. They could be positioned perfectly that they don't have to play in the Big Ten championship game and get an easy opening round matchup if they get that 5 seed in the college football playoff. Rizz is on the Iron Bowl, and he is going to go with War Eagle plus 5.5, a number that started at 7.5 and now has dropped. Auburn now only getting 5.5. Rizz taking the Auburn Tigers, which would knock Kalen DeBoer out of the college football playoff if they're not able to win straight up for both years of his tenure in Tuscaloosa. I am going to focus on the chaos, and maybe this is a square play, but I am going to take our good friends at Mississippi State yet again.
In the Egg Bowl.
In the Egg Bowl. The chaos surrounding Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. Mississippi State at home went to overtime against Tennessee. They went to overtime against Texas. They won in Starkville against Arizona State. They're getting 7.5. I shall take Mississippi State and the 7.5 against Lane Kiffin for what might be his penultimate day in Oxford, Mississippi.
My second play is Miami laying the 7 against Pittsburgh. I think a lot of people are going to be on Pittsburgh after they dismantled Georgia Tech.
Yep.
But Tim, I think the way that Georgia Tech was walking that high wire for a couple of weeks, I think it was only a matter of time before they met their maker.
Yeah, when you're struggling against Boston College, you're vulnerable.
And they had lost, they lost to NC State. This Pittsburgh team, I don't think is that good. They're obviously their best game was last week. But Miami now, I think Miami started to figure things out, and they know that they gotta put on a little bit of a show for the committee. They beat Stanford 42-7 as a 30-point favorite. They lost at SMU, which kind of sparked the whole Miami's going to be done. But 38-10 over Syracuse and 41-7 over NC State last week. I think that they cover the 7 against Pittsburgh. I love the fact that I don't have to deal with a hook. I was hoping for some 6.5s, but I think this line's a little short, and I think a lot of people are going to be on the home dog on Saturday afternoon, but Miami handles business.
This is a weekend where you can play motivation. That's something that I did last week with Auburn against Mercer, which was super random, but I think DJ Durkin down in Auburn wants that job and is going to do everything he can to run it up to look good. That's what he wound up doing. Miami is in a spot, Anthony, that if they are able to win, I think they will win kind of like what Notre Dame did to Syracuse. I think they will run it up to try to get themselves in position for an at-large if there's a little chaos in front of them. So
they can't get into the ACC title game.
That's right.
So this is it. This is it. This is flexing time.
So put on a show, and so if they win, they're going to win big. I would imagine the 7 would not be a factor. Rizz is playing Oklahoma and laying 10.5 against LSU. LSU nearly lost to Western Kentucky on Saturday night in Baton Rouge. Seems like they've checked out and focused their attention on the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes. So Rizz is taking the Sooners minus 10.5. The defense is going to be there for Oklahoma. Will the offense be there? I would imagine LSU is going to have a tough time scoring double digits there. So Oklahoma minus 10.5 for Rizz as his second play. My second play, I'm also looking at motivation. This is a weird spot. I don't know how many people are looking at this. But if BYU were to beat Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game, operating on the premise that they both get in, then that means the Big 12 has two teams. The ACC still most likely to get a team in there, but only one. And then you have the group of five. And that means a current team in the top 10 would not make the college football playoff, as crazy as that sounds. So if Alabama were to beat Auburn, they go into the SEC championship game. They're in.
Right.
Guess who would be out?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Wow.
Notre Dame will be on a mission to do what they did to Syracuse, to Stanford. Stanford riding the high of beating the hell out of Cal, kind of shocking the world there, leading to Justin Wilcox getting fired at Cal. I think Notre Dame will, and also have a Jeremiah Love Heisman campaign going on against a team that can't stop that run. Notre Dame will cover easily 32.5. It does not scare me at Stanford. I think that will be something in the 50s, and if Stanford gets 10, they'll be lucky. Notre Dame minus 32.5, Anthony, for my second college play.
Yeah, that was one of those last week when you're watching all the other games and the ticker rolls by and you're like, Notre Dame's up 35-0 in the first quarter. There's
21-0 without even having an offensive possession.
That's amazing.
No.
What, 2 pick six?
No. And a special team.
Special teams touchdown, punt return for a touchdown. My final play actually matches one of Rizz's plays. Give me Auburn plus 5.5.
You're going War Eagle too?
Yeah, give me Auburn plus 5.5 in the Iron Bowl. One thing we know about Auburn, they play defense, especially at home. I think that given the nature of this rivalry, I thought you brought up a great point last week where the interim there is trying to get the job, the main job. I think Auburn's going to play tough. Now, they had a rough one a couple of weeks ago against Vanderbilt, but they did get the bye.
Scored a bunch of points, though.
They did. Their offense finally came alive. I think that this is just one of those classic rivalry games. Alabama struggled to move the ball against Oklahoma.
They cannot run the football, so that allows good defenses to lay back and try to stop Ty Simpson.
Tim, I think this is almost a mirror image of the Oklahoma game. Outside of, I think Alabama figures it out in the end. But 5.5, I'll tuck it in my back pocket. I think that this is a game in which if Alabama puts the ball on the ground, they lose some possessions. They're gonna be in a fight in the fourth quarter.
They just cannot run the football in that Auburn.
Can't get control of the game.
Is put on a show at times this year, especially earlier in the season. DJ Durkin down there trying to win that job. If he beats Alabama, I would imagine he'd become the head coach, replacing Hugh Freeze. My final play, there is a new tradition here on the Spread Zone presented by FanDuel, Anthony, and that is me taking Missouri and they lose, or me taking Missouri's opponent and they win.
Yes.
This week I am going to take the Missouri game, but just take the over. Missouri-Arkansas over 57.5. Missouri's going to score a lot of points. I think Arkansas will score a lot of points. We loved the over on Oregon-USC last week. This one is in that category for me. Almost the lock. Over 57.5 Missouri-Arkansas.
You got the spreadsheet in front of you.
Yes.
Did I take Texas and Arkansas over last week, or was I just thinking about it?
I do not see that on your plays.
That was one that I...
Oh, you would have cashed.
Yeah, that was one I was kicking myself, but I just couldn't get there with Texas's offense. Yeah. And obviously, Arch Manning had a day. So I like that play, Tim.
Yeah, Arkansas's defense makes anybody's offense look good.
Yes, sir.
And Talon Green can certainly move the football for Arkansas. So over 57.5 there. Rounding out my plays, and Rizz is on Virginia Tech at home against Virginia. getting 9.5. Virginia is in a spot. They are playing for something still. Virginia Tech is playing for James Franklin in the press box, but Virginia is still playing for that ACC championship. They could be in the college football playoff. They could be playing the 6th seed if they wind up being the 11 and winning the ACC championship. But Rizz is going to take Virginia Tech and the 9.5. So he's on Auburn, as are you, with the 5.5. He's on Oklahoma, laying 10.5, and he's on Virginia Tech plus 9.5. Anthony, you are also on Auburn, as I mentioned, and Oregon minus 6.5 at Washington, and Miami minus 7 at Pitt. And I'm on Mississippi State plus 7.5 against Ole Miss. Notre Dame minus 32.5 against Stanford, and Arkansas, Missouri over 57.5. There is the college slate. But we got a big weekend in the NFL, and it goes for 5 days. What else can you ask for? We will break down our plays on the NFL slate coming up next on the Spread Zone, presented to you by FanDuel. Welcome back to the Spread Zone, presented to you by FanDuel. Tim McKernan and Anthony Stalter with you here on the podcast. Rizz is on vacation, but he has sent his picks in, and we have a smorgasbord this weekend as the NFL has added the Black Friday game in addition to the 3 Thanksgiving games as well. Anthony, what are you liking this week on this long weekend of NFL football?
So I'm going to take the Patriots. I'm going to lay the 7 against the Giants. Now, if you got 7.5 at FanDuel, I'm noticing some reduced juice on 7.5 at minus 105. Okay. So go ahead and just make sure you take the alt line there and get the 7 points. No need to lay the half. You might have to pay, minus 115 or something. Yeah. But I take the alt line on this. Look, the Giants just fired the defensive coordinator for good reason. I wonder too. I mean, last week they decided to not kick the field goal to go up by 6 in Detroit.
Yeah, that was an intriguing decision there.
Well, you wonder if they're tanking, Tim.
That a call came down?
You wonder. But this Patriots team just continues to roll. I think that the job that Mike Vrabel has done will lead to him being coach of the year. Shane Steichen and the Colts have taken a step back.
Yeah.
So I think Vrabel wins coach of the year. They're back at home after traveling 2 of the last 3 weeks. And I think the Giants, whether it's Jackson Dart coming back at, being rusty, or Jameis Winston. Jameis has not had that game in which he throws you about 5 picks.
Yeah, he'll give you a nice afternoon one day.
Last week was his shining moment. We saw it last year in Denver on like a Thursday night or Monday night or whatever it was. He put on a show, and everybody gets on the Jameis Winston bandwagon, and he reminds you why he's Jameis. So I think it's this game. I think the Patriots cover the 7.
And sweat-free can happen when Jameis is back. James.
Absolutely.
It's a super high ceiling, but it can be an incredibly low floor. Rizz, for his first NFL pick, is on the Texans. He's also shorting the Colts stock. As you were observing, they're taking a step back. He's on the Texans, getting 4.5 in Indianapolis this weekend. They blew the lead against the Chiefs, and so he thinks Indianapolis is going to continue to struggle. He's on the Texans plus 4.5. I am on that game, but I'm just not on a side. I am on the over of the Colts and the Texans. That number at 44.5. Colts, Texans over 44.5. Anthony.
I'm going to lay the points on Sunday Night Football. Denver has not looked sharp at all, but I'm going to lay the 6.5. I don't like anything about this Washington team. Yeah. Jaden Daniels, he's practicing, but he's still a long shot to come back in that game. Marcus Mariota has done what a backup does. There's some good moments, there's some bad moments, but I do not like this Washington defense at all. I think Denver's finally going to be able to open things up a little bit offensively because they've struggled. 22 points against Kansas City, fine, but only 10 against 10 against Vegas, who's terrible defensively. No shame in only putting up 18 against Houston, but they had a lot of opportunities with Davis Mills struggling in that game. They really have not pounded anybody since the Dallas 44-24 win. Tim, I think we get a market correction on the Denver Broncos, who people are questioning. Again, don't like Washington defensively, and I think offensively, they're going to have a hell of a time trying to move against that Denver defense. I think we get over the 6.5.
Broncos minus 6.5 is officially booked. Rizz is going with the opener on Thanksgiving, and he's going to take the Green Bay Packers plus 2.5 in Detroit for his second pick. My second pick, Eagles -7 against the Bears. The Eagles, I think, might be getting, you're talking about a market correction. I think they might have a lot of negative public equity after blowing that monster lead against Dallas in that prime spot on Sunday afternoon. And I have loved the Bears. I've been rolling with the Bears quite a bit, but I just see a spot here where it doesn't necessarily make sense. And I think the public is going to be overvaluing the Bears and maybe devaluing the Eagles because of that collapse. So that is where I'm going with it. Eagles -7 against the Bears. Anthony, next.
Didn't work for me last week, Tim, but I'm going to go back to the well by fading the Falcons. They are coming off the win against New Orleans. They're flying high. They're feeling great. And when they're doing that, Tim, the collapse usually follows.
Yeah.
So walk with me here for a second.
Okay. What do we got?
They win in Minnesota on Sunday Night Football in week 2. They lose the following week 30-0 to the Panthers.
Oh, there's a trend.
They're flying high coming off the win against Buffalo, where they beat the Bills on Monday Night Football 24-14. Sunday Night Football against the Niners, they only score 10. They lose 20-10. Some of their closer games wind up, people start to believe again. I'm not buying it after the 24-10 win against the Saints. Drake London's doubtful again. He didn't play last week. I don't think Kirko Chains goes to East Rutherford in that weather and plays well. And the Jets, look, say what you want, but they hung with Baltimore.
Yep.
They had the Ravens in a fourth quarter battle, eventually giving up a late touchdown to make it 23-10. I think defensively the Jets play well, and I could see them winning outright, but I'll take the 2.5.
Yeah, you're getting 2.5 on that one. So Jets plus 2.5. Taking on the Falcons, as you see a trend with the Falcons having a wonderful weekend, and they follow it up with an absolute disaster. Rizz is on the 49ers laying 5.5 in Cleveland. That is where that one will take place. 49ers -5.5 at the Browns. My final one. This kind of scares me because it strikes me as so obvious when the Seahawks have these home games. They put up points, I feel like. I realize they got quite a little quarterback situation. Justin Jefferson has been rendered obsolete in the Vikings offense, but I think you're going to see easily over 41.5 on the Seahawks and Vikings. I think there'll be a correction there on that Vikings offense, and plus the Seahawks are going to score points. Seahawks Vikings over 41.5.
To your point, so Max Brosmer is going to make his first start for Minnesota. Can't get any worse than what it has been with J.J. McCarthy. I mean, terrible. I think just the switch from McCarthy to Brosmer will give the Vikings a little bit of a bump.
I could not agree. And as a Justin Jefferson fantasy football owner,
you want
counting
to see
on
it.
the Max Brosmer program.
Sure.
All right, Anthony, it is time for the locks of the week. What do you got? I bet you've studied this one. We both take pride in our locks. You were feeling some last week. You regretted not going with Oregon and USC in the locks. I bet you're on something here. Maybe, are you going total again? What do we got?
I'm not going to go total, and this one might seem obvious, but why don't you go ahead and give me the Wolverines plus 10 in the big one on Saturday?
Is it high? Last I saw 10.5. I'm trying to help you out.
Let me check our friends at FanDuel.
Maybe you're going to get a hook.
I would love to get a hook with those Wolverines, but look, I mean, we talk about Ryan Day constantly struggling to beat Michigan. Last year at the Shoe, Michigan, one of Michigan's worst teams in the last 5 to 6 years.
Oh, yeah, that was stunning.
They go into the Shoe and they beat Ohio State. This year, I know things have been up and down with Bryce Underwood, but they're starting to play better. It is 10.5. Great catch.
Yes.
10.5 and you know what? I'm looking at it. This is why FanDuel not only is our sponsor, but they're the best in the biz. I'm not seeing 10.5 anywhere else right now.
Wow, look at
10.5 from FanDuel. It is great to be a Michigan Wolverine. At home, they're psyched.
Playing for the college football playoff. They win, they're in.
Absolutely.
Don't you think so?
I do. So Ohio State, who has tested them? Since Texas.
I was about to say, is Texas it?
Texas is it. I mean, unless you consider going to Washington
where they trailed early on.
They trailed early on, and then Washington couldn't move the ball at all. But if you look at Ohio State's schedule, Tim, I'm not being over the top here. Grambling, Ohio. A solid MAC program, but
the Bobcats.
Yeah, you're not worried about Ohio coming to Ohio State and beating you. At Washington, Minnesota, at Illinois, okay, but Illinois has fallen off since. At Wisconsin, no offense. Penn State, the version of Penn State that Oregon did not face. We're talking about the broken down Penn State.
And they were struggling at the half in that.
And they were.
Record, they beat the hell out of them in the second half.
In the second half, they opened it up. At Purdue, didn't cover in that one, and then UCLA. I know Ohio State's good. I get it. Maybe I'll have egg on my face when it's 17-0 first quarter. But you give me 10.5 in Ann Arbor in a game that's got a total of 44.5. So odds makers are screaming at you. That's going to be a rock fight. Maybe some weather, some wind, things like that. Give me Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan in 10.5, playing for something too. Last year they weren't, and they still were able to pull it off in Columbus. Rizz is back to Mississippi State and Ole Miss, and he is on the under of 62.5. When he has these obscure plays, he hits. It's when when he sent the email to us for his picks, I'm like, he must have something. And I got to monitor that. I'm just telling you. Remember the UConn Duke play a few weeks ago? I'm like, where in the world did that come from? And then UConn beat Duke. It got Jim Mora a job at Colorado State.
Right.
Duke could still wind up in the college football playoff with a few weird things happening.
That is an odd.
Isn't it an odd play?
Because Mississippi State, as we know, they can move the football,
and they don't really enjoy stopping people moving the football. That's one of the things they like to do in Starkville. Come on through. We'll let you score.
He may be playing some trends.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he might be Tommy Trends right now.
Tommy Trends.
The under 9-1 last 10 Egg Bowls.
Oh, that's where it is. You hopped on it.
I don't know if that was his method, but not a bad play there.
Yeah, how about
under
that?
And 9-1.
Sometimes those 11 o'clock games, they can be slow to start offensively down south. So he's on the under of 62.5. between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. This one strikes me as scary obvious.
Okay.
But we were talking about the motivations in college football that teams have. There may be no greater motivation than BYU against a terrible Central Florida team. Now, the counter to that is BYU still would have the path by winning the Big 12 if they were able to beat Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. But BYU is hosting a bad Central Florida team. The number is 17.5. And it strikes me that they are going to try to do what you think Miami is going to try to do to Pittsburgh. And what I think Notre Dame is going to try to do to Stanford. It's motivation season in college football. No spread is safe. 17.5. It could be 27.5. Give me BYU minus 17.5 against Central Florida as they try to make a case for the committee in their final regular season game.
I like it, Tim. If you can find the Syracuse of the week, team that just has no effort.
That's exactly. Shut it down against a motivated team.
Yeah,
that's the special recipe.
Sure.
There it is. You are on Michigan plus 10.5 against Ohio State. Rizz on the under of Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Tommy Trends 9-1 on the under. Is that what we got in the?
Not a bad play. 9-1 in the last 10 Egg Bowls.
And I am on BYU minus 17.5. Against Central Florida. There it is. The locks are booked. Big weekend of both college and NFL. Rivalry weekend in college football and a 5-day weekend in the NFL. Let's have a weekend.
We're due.
We really are. We're scary due. Well, let's have a happy Thanksgiving as well and try and make the listeners and viewers of the Spread Zone some money. We'll be back next week to review the plays. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening to the Spread Zone, presented to you by FanDuel. For Anthony Stalter, for Scott Rizzuto, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been the Spread Zone, presented to you by FanDuel.
We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.